Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlie Wallace with Quality Service Contractors, and we're very fortunate today to have Josh Nelson with Plumbing and HVAC SEO with us to do this presentation on discovering how to triple your sales by getting your internet marketing right. And I can't think of anyone I'd rather listen to because Josh knows just what he's talking about, and I've had nothing but positive comments about him and his company, and I think you'll get a lot out of this. He's very open with what he talks about, and I'll let him tell you whatever the ground rules are that he wants. It will be whether he wants questions as we go or he'll stop every once in a while, ask questions. I'll let him explain all that to you. Quality Service Contractors, we're an organization that helps contractors become better business people, and in teaching them business skills and providing the tools for them to achieve success, whatever their definition of success is. And we've got a power meeting coming up in Scottsdale, Arizona, February 26th through 28, 2014. And if any of you are interested, please don't hesitate to drop me an email. My email address is Wallace, WALLACE, at NAPHCC.org. And with that said, I'm not going to take up any more of your time or cut into Josh's presentation. So Josh, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Charlie. I really appreciate those nice words, and I couldn't be more excited to share this presentation with those of you that have joined us. See, there's a lot of people on the line, and there's a lot of people coming in as we speak. And as we start to look at 2015, we're at the close of 2014. There's a new year on the horizon. I think it's really a good time to be stopping and thinking about what you're going to do differently in the new year to accomplish your goals, to really take your company to the next level. And this presentation is really all about how you can triple your sales by getting your internet marketing right and helping you put the right plan in place to maximize your opportunity online in terms of leads, in terms of calls, and in terms of revenue for your plumbing, HVAC, or contracting services business. This is a live webinar, and so we have all of the capabilities that are built into GoToWebinar. So if you have questions, I would love to hear them. For the most part, you've got a question box. Just enter your questions in there, and as I find gaps in the presentation, I'll look at those questions and I'll try and address them as we go. I also want to point out there's a handout that we're going to be going through together as part of this presentation. And in the chat box, I went ahead and put a link to that. You probably got it via email whenever you initially registered for the webinar. I'll be making it available a little bit further down the line in today's presentation as well. But if you haven't already, I would open up another side window and just go to plumberseo.net/handout. Again, we're going to be working through that throughout the course of this presentation to help you identify where there's room for improvement, where there's gaps in your strategy, and help you put together your plan and say, okay, these are the 2, 3, or 4 areas that were a little bit deficient, and we need to really emphasize in these particular areas. So my goal for you at the end of this presentation is to have that worksheet completed, highlighted, and circled the things that you need to address so that after today, you can hit the ground running and you can start to make the necessary adjustments to be getting more leads, more sales, and more profitability online. Now, the reason I titled this presentation, Discover How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right, is because I know all of you that follow me and all of you that are QSC members that are on today's meeting, you do internet marketing. I mean, you know that internet marketing is important. I don't need to tell you that there's been a transition from offline to online. And you've tried a lot of things. You've done pay-per-click advertising. You've tried SEO. You've worked with a variety of companies. And from what I'm hearing from a lot of you is that you haven't gotten the result that you expected. you haven't gotten the increase in calls. In a lot of cases, you've been burned. And I really want to encourage you, and the reason, again, that I called it How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right, is because if you do things right, there really is a much bigger future for you as a plumbing or HVAC company in pulling leads via the internet. So I really want you to stop and think as we start off today's presentation is, have you ever wondered what it would be like to have a dominant presence that positioned you as the top plumbing or HVAC company in your area? Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have a flood of prospects calling into your business on a consistent basis that found you online? And have you ever wondered what it would be like to know that your marketing strategy was working, so you didn't have to worry about it, so you didn't have to feel like you're constantly reinventing the wheel and constantly trying to find out where things are going wrong? And that's what I want for you. I want you to have all three of these key things in your business.
Sure.
So you're about to discover a blueprint of the most important online marketing mediums that you should be tapping into. And so there's a lot of different online marketing channels available, from SEO to pay-per-click to pay-per-lead services to email marketing to social media. I want to help give you the recipe of which ones of those you should be tapping into and in what order. I'm going to talk about how to get your plumbing or HVAC company ranked on page 1 for the most important keywords in your area, some really sound SEO strategies, a proven strategy for getting ranked on the Google map listings, critical for your local plumbing or HVAC company. There's some very specific things you can do with the latest changes in the Google algorithm to make sure you are ranking. We're going to be covering that in depth. A step-by-step strategy for getting more repeat and referral business by leveraging social media. And we all hear about Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus and LinkedIn and how important it is and how much opportunity there is there. But if you don't have the right strategy and you're not looking at it through the right lens, you might just pass on it altogether. So we're going to be talking about how you can leverage social media correctly to get more repeat and referral business, which should be the lifeblood of your company. And I'm going to share real-world examples and case studies of other plumbing and HVAC companies that have doubled, tripled, and in one case even 10x their sales by getting their internet marketing right. So this whole presentation isn't based on theory. It's really based on what's worked with other companies just like yours in competitive markets throughout the United States. So just real quickly, I'm going to talk about who I am and why you should listen, because there's so many people talking about internet and talking about internet marketing that you really have to be careful to make sure you're getting your advice from people that know what they're talking about and can back it up. So first of all, I'm the author of The Complete Guide to Internet Marketing for Plumbing Contractors. I also recently published a new book, How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right, which is on Amazon, and we've been promoting it pretty heavily over the last couple of weeks. It just got released. We're associate members of PHCC, QSC, ACCA. We've spoken at a number of the PHCC, QSC, and industry events across the country, including Comfort Tech this year and PHCC Connect the previous year. Our articles on internet marketing have been published in Plumbing and Mechanical, Contractor Magazine, HVAC Insider, and we are widely accepted as the experts in internet marketing for plumbing and HVAC businesses. But I'd really say more important than any of that is the fact that we've worked with literally hundreds of plumbing and HVAC companies all throughout the United States in very competitive markets and been able to take them from a place of relative obscurity online to the point where they now dominate their respective markets, many of them getting over 100 calls every single month directly via their internet marketing strategy. And so everything that I'm teaching, everything that I bring to the table from a training perspective is really based on what works in the trenches as opposed to just theory or somebody that read a book and is trying to apply it to a plumbing or HVAC business. Now, clearly, this is what we do as a company. The company is Plumber and HVAC SEO. We have a team down in South Florida, in Miami, and what we do, we sell internet marketing services to plumbing and HVAC companies, and we will do all of this for you. So setting up your website and managing your social media and doing the link building and tracking the SEO and managing the pay-per-click strategy. As a company, we do that, and we'd be glad to do that for you. But that's really not what this presentation is about. This isn't going to just be my sales pitch for why you should hire our services. Really, we want to give you the strategies and techniques that we've found to work so well and arm you with the tools to, if you wanted to, do it yourself, do it in-house, build your own team. Of course, if you decide you'd like some help and you'd like to have us help implement it, we'd love to talk with you. We'd love to do that. But this presentation should arm you with all of the resources to go out and take your company to the next level, whether you engage our services or not. So let's dive into the meat and potatoes here of how we can double or triple our sales by getting our internet marketing right. And I really like to start with a case study, an example, as opposed to just diving right into training. And so one of the companies we've worked with in the past several years is the Plumbing Doctor. And the Plumbing Doctor is based out of Falls Church, Virginia. They've been serving that area for quite a long time, and they, over the years, built up a very significant business, a nice-sized business doing several $1 million per year. And they built their business really by advertising in the Yellow Pages. Dr. Bill and his daughter Tracy had double truck ads in that market in the Yellow Pages, and that was their predominant source of inbound calls and leads, which turned into sales and revenues for their company. And they started to notice a shift somewhere around mid-2000 that the Yellow Pages wasn't generating the same amount of calls, the same amount of leads, and the same profitability that it once did. And of course, that presented a challenge because they needed to keep the lead flow up, to keep their technicians busy, and to keep the revenue flowing for the company. And so they had an interesting challenge in that they needed to figure out where the customers went. If they weren't going to the Yellow Pages, where were they going now? Where were they looking when they needed plumbing and HVAC related services? And what they discovered was customers had switched their buying habits. Now, I'm not saying nobody was going to the Yellow Pages anymore. They just weren't going to the Yellow Pages at the same velocity. And really, for the most part, they had shifted to the internet. They started looking on Google and Yahoo and Bing and Yelp and Facebook. And statistics tell us more than 97% of customers are going to the internet at some level when they need plumbing and HVAC related services. And so, of course, the Plumbing Doctor knew they had to get an aggressive internet marketing strategy in place. They really had to get this right. Otherwise, they were going to be in big trouble and they weren't going to be able to sustain the business. And so they tried a couple of things. The first thing that they did, because they had built such a significant business and it had worked so well over the years, advertising in the Yellow Pages, they had a good relationship with their Yellow Page rep. Yellow Page rep came in and said, hey, things have shifted online and so have we. And what we can do is we'll set up a website for you, we'll get you on yp.com, and we'll really help you tap into this internet marketing opportunity. And that didn't really have the impact that they expected. So they did have a website, they were on yp.com, but there were two major flaws in this strategy that made it not as effective as it could or should have been. The first thing was the website was a very generic templatized website. Didn't have any personality, didn't talk anything specific about why to choose the Plumbing Doctor, didn't showcase their testimonials or their reviews. And probably more importantly, it didn't show up in the search engines on Google or Yahoo or Bing when someone typed in Falls Church Plumber, Falls Church Plumbing, Falls Church Drain Cleaning. And so naturally, they weren't getting the number of calls that they needed, and they had to continue their quest to try and find the right solution or the right strategy to continue to grow their business. So their next attempt, they were contacted by one of the big pay-per-click management companies. It might have been Reach Local, it might have been Yodel, and they came in and they said, hey, where you're missing the ball here is you're not showing up in the paid listings. And we're the best in the world. We're partners with Google. What we're going to do is we're going to set you up with a pay-per-click campaign. And we're going to be aggressive. We're going to invest somewhere between $2,000 to $4,000 per month, and your phone's going to ring off the hook. And this strategy actually did have a bit of an impact. Since they were starting to spend some money in pay-per-click advertising and they were getting traffic to their website, they started to see more calls, and they were kind of starting to look forward to it. But what they noticed was the way things were going with this pay-per-click management strategy was it seemed like no matter how much they invested in the pay-per-click campaign, $2,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, didn't seem like it ever generated much more than the investment that they made. So if they put $4,000, they might get about $4,000 back. And that's not too bad, because if you're good at follow-up marketing and you can turn one customer into 5 repeat customers, you can generate a good return even if you're not making money on the front end. But they needed to replace the revenue that they were getting from the Yellow Pages, which generated a lot of leads and a lot of really high return on investment revenue. And so part of the problem with this strategy and the reason that it fell flat was while they were now showing up on Google, they were still sending traffic to a generic templatized website. Again, it didn't have anything personality-wise that made them unique. It didn't make them stand out. And so the conversion wasn't as good as it could be. But again, the other big problem here was they were only showing up in the paid listings. They weren't showing up on the map and in the organic section when people were typing in their keywords. And so, again, they needed to try and find the right strategy. And so, finally, we were able to get the internet marketing right. And what happened was we set up a website that was a little more personality-based. It had pictures of their trucks. It had video of the owner talking about who he was, why he was unique, and why a company might want to choose them. Got the SEO strategy right, and I'll be unpacking that as we go so you can apply it and model it in your business. But ultimately what happened was they started showing up in the organic non-paid listings when someone typed in Falls Church Plumber, Falls Church Plumbing, Falls Church Drain Cleaning, Falls Church Water Heater Repair. And what I want you to see is what happened to the traffic to their website and to the lead flow. And so over about a 5-month period, they went from 250 visitors to the site to over 733 visitors. And what that equated to was 24 calls all the way up to 88 calls. And right there, that's a 3-time or a tripling of the leads that came in via the internet, tripling of the amount of sales and revenue within the business. And what it meant for Dr. Bill and for the plumbing doctor was that they had enough leads, enough calls, and enough revenue to keep their technicians busy and not to have to worry about downsizing or feeling like the company just didn't have the right marketing strategy in place. And so just from a high level, some of the things that changed and that had to be put in place in order to help them get that triple increase in the sales and leads they were getting from the internet, first, they had to have their website updated for SEO and conversion. So in order to get ranked on the search engines in the non-paid listings and to convert traffic to the website to calls. They had to make sure that the website was mobile ready because so many people were getting to home service websites via mobile phones, iPhones, Android phones. They had to make sure that the website was easily accessed on those mobile devices. They had to get active with an SEO plan in terms of building good content on a consistent basis, building inbound links. They had to optimize for the Google Maps and start to put the right strategies in place to get ranked on the Google Map. And again, I'm going to be unpacking this as we go, but claiming their map listing, making sure they had a lot of consistent name, address, and phone number citations across the web, and putting a process in place to get new reviews from their real customers in their true service area. And then, of course, they got active with social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, started leveraging email marketing. That tripling that we're talking about was only on that part of the equation, right? It was all organically based. Setting up the website, getting ranked in the non-paid listings, not even really doing any pay-per-click advertising. I'm going to show what happened as they started to implement pay-per-click advertising and getting active in some of the online directories like Angie's List and City Search. But that was really the strategy. And of course, they put the right tracking and measurement in place. in order to know that they had that increase in calls, that increase in revenues, and that growth within the business. And so I just wanted to real quick share that case study with you so that you can see how this might apply to your plumbing or HVAC company. And now really what I want to do is apply this to your business and help you develop a plan to identify what do you have going well, what are you missing, and what do you need to change as soon as possible this year so that you can knock it out of the park in 2015. And so again, the handout that I want to encourage you to have printed and have in front of you, you can go to plumberseo.net/handout if you haven't already, and you can download this document, print it off real quick, and I really want to encourage you to go through this with me, and if you do, you're going to get so much more out of this training than if you don't. So hopefully you guys have already downloaded this, you've got it in front of you, and we can dive right into it. And so if you look at the worksheet, you'll see the very first question on there is, do you have a website? And I'm going to assume that 100% of you or 99% of you can check that off and say, yes, I've got a website. Go ahead and pat yourself on the back. If you don't have a website, we're really probably way outside of your depth with what we're trying to do in today's presentation. So step one, I'm going to assume most of you can check that off. Well done, you have a website. The next question, though, is does your website show up in search? And does it show up on the search engines when people are typing in the keywords that they would type when they need your services? And so I want to kind of go a little bit in depth on this. Well, not too much depth, but make sure that you're clear on the differences between the paid listings, the map listings, and the organic listings. So when we go to Google and we type in Falls Church Plumber, for instance, there's really 3 different areas on the search engines. And up on the graphic I have on the screen, number 1 is what's called the pay-per-click listings. And that's along the top and the right-hand side of the search engine result page. And that's powered by Google AdWords. And you're able to choose your keywords. You're able to bid. It's kind of like an auction process. And you literally pay for placement in that pay-per-click area of the search engines. Really what I'm talking about here when I ask, are you showing up in search in this area of the worksheet is geared more towards number 2 and number 3. Are you showing up in the map listings and the organic listings? Those 2 areas on the search engines, there's no paid element. You can't contact Google and say, hey, here's $5,000 a month, put me in the number 1 spot. It doesn't work that way. It's really driven by the authority of your website, the number of links that you have, the quality of the content, and a lot of other factors. And so that's what I'm talking about, the map and the organic listings. And you really need to think outside of just, am I showing up for My City Plumber, My City Plumbing? Yes, those are very important keywords. There's a lot of search for those. But as a plumbing or HVAC company, there's a lot of things that you do. You do drain cleaning, you do bathroom remodeling, you do trenchless sewer replacement, you do repiping. There's a variety of keywords that somebody might type in when they need your service. And so I've got up on the screen a list of what we found to be the most commonly searched plumbing keywords, and I'll share the HVAC keywords in a moment. If you want to download this, you can go to plumberseo.net/plumbing-keywords. And the reason I want you to have this list is so that you can really kind of audit yourself and say, okay, if I type in My City leak detection, am I showing up on page 1 in the non-paid listings? When I type in My City water heater repair, or My City commercial plumbing contract, or My City water softener repair, am I showing up? Because these are things people are typing in when they need your services. And so you really want to start here. And before you can check off, am I showing up in the search results, you have to do a little bit of that due diligence and find out what are the keywords and am I showing up. On the HVAC side, you've got air conditioning, AC, heater, furnaces, indoor air quality, IAQ. There's a lot of different things somebody might type in. And so I want you to do the same thing. And you can download this list at hvacSEO.net/keywords. And there's a little bit of additional resource there that will help you figure out how do I take the keywords and combine them with my city and make it a little bit easier to figure out where I'm ranking for those keywords. And so before you can really check this box off, you have to spend a little bit of time. You have to go in and run a couple of searches and see, am I showing up for these most important keywords that somebody might type in when they need my services? And so this one I don't really think you can check off right at this moment in time. That's one I want you to put a little asterisk next to and set aside maybe 30 minutes to an hour to do some of this due diligence and find out whether you're ranking. Because if you're not, that's a great opportunity. It's actually better for you at this moment in time to say, wow, I'm not ranking, and realize that, than to be page one for everything. Because if you're page one for everything, there's probably only so much increase you can get from an organic perspective. But if you're not, well, we know that there's hundreds of people typing in these keywords every single month, and by plugging that gap or bridging that gap and really making sure you're showing up in the non-paid listings, that means there's a tremendous amount of opportunity that you're not currently tapping into. And so doing that due diligence and finding out maybe that you're not ranking as well as you could means there's a major opportunity for your business, and that's exciting. So the next question on our worksheet is your website properly optimized for search? So obviously, if you're not showing up in the search engines for those keywords, it's because your website either isn't properly optimized or there's not enough authority for your website. And so in order to tell whether or not you're properly optimized or not, you need to get a little bit of a crash course on the basics of SEO. And so there's a lot of things that go into search engine optimization, from the content to the URL structure to the links to the click-through ratio and the time on site. And there are volumes of books written just on this topic of search engine optimization. What I want to share with you right now is the 20% of those things, of those factors, that actually generate 80% of the result in terms of whether or not you're properly optimized. And so really what it boils down to is helping Google understand what your homepage and the separate subsequent pages on your website are all about. And so there's really three things that Google will look at in any page of your website to determine what it's about and determine what it should be in the Google index for. And that's going to be your title tag, your H1 tag, and your content. And I've got arrows pointed to the top area of your site. That's going to be your title tag. If you find that your title tag reads just your company name, Joe's Plumbing Service, that's not the right approach. What you would want that to say would be your city plumber, your city AC repair, your city, whatever your main keyword is. And then you want to have that keyword in the H1 tag. And then you want to have great, completely unique, authentic content on each page of the website. And so that's what you're wanting to do, is make sure that your keywords and that information is nice and tight, the title tag, the H1 tag, and the content on the page. From there, you're going to want to make sure that you've built out your website for all of the different services that you offer. You know, as we looked at that list of keywords, drain cleaning and water heater repair and bathroom remodeling, if you want to rank for each one of those, you're probably going to need a page on your website for each one of those services. Every page on your website can probably be optimized for between 1 and 2 keyword combinations. So we looked at that, and it was probably about 100 relevant keywords for any plumbing or HVAC company. Well, if we want to make sure we're ranking for those, we're going to have pages. And so what I encourage is to have a page for each one of your services. So a page for drain cleaning, and a page for hydrojetting, and a page for all of the different things that you do. And of course, updating the title tag and the H1 tag and the content so that it's unique on each one of those pages. From there, we find that most of the plumbing and HVAC companies we talk with serve between a 25 and 50 mile radius. Some go wider, some go narrower. And within that service area, there's going to be a number of little sub-cities and sub-towns. So in the case of the plumbing doctor, right, they're in Falls Church, and that's their main city. And so their homepage and the service pages on the website are really targeting Falls Church. But they also, and you probably also, want to rank for the sub-cities and sub-towns that you operate in. In order to rank for those, you're going to need to have service area pages on your website. I don't want you to get too out of control with this. There might be hundreds of little sub-cities and sub-towns in your market. What I would encourage you to do is to pick the top 10, the ones that have the highest population, that have the most search volume, and build sub-city pages for each one of those. And of course, just as you would on a service page or the home page, you have to have a unique title tag, a unique H1 tag targeting that particular city or that particular service, and then write a unique set of content. One of the things that Google's changed in the latest algorithmic updates is they're really cracking down on sites that have unnecessary duplicate content. So it says the same thing on City 1 and City 2 and City 3. So if you are going to build 10 different city pages on your website, you have to write a different page of content for each one of those cities. So you can't just change the city and be good to go. There has to be a little bit of unique content development in order for this to work. And of course, you have to build links and build authority back to these pages for them to rank. But I can tell you, if you just do those couple of things, you're going to be able to see a major increase in where your website's ranking in the search engines. And so again, it's updating your title tag, updating your H1 tag, having good unique content on all of your pages of your website, and then you'll be able to say, okay, I know that my website is properly optimized. And so the homework here, the step you're going to want to do is go to your website, pull it up, and look at that title tag. What does it say? Does it have your city and your service in it? Do you have pages for each one of the services that you offer? Do you have pages for each one of the sub-cities that you're in? Do they have the right title tag and H1 tag? Is there unique content on every single one of those pages? Because if all of those things are in place, you've significantly improved your probability of showing up on Google when someone types in those various keywords. And so I'm just going to pause for a second. Again, this is a live webinar. There's a lot of you on the line, and if you have questions, I want to make sure I stop and I answer them and I address them. So let's just check in. I see a couple of questions posted. Heather Appleton is asking, do you have a secret for showing up in the surrounding cities with keywords? Heather, I think that I just answered that. Really part of the secret is to have city pages, have unique content on those city pages. We use a tool called Nearby Now, which would be an application that your technicians have installed on their phones. And as they're going about their day in City 1 or City 2 or City 3, they check in the GPS coordinates from that phone, capture the location, and it automatically pushes to that city page on the site. So it's creating good, unique content that's hyper-local, and again, it helps to make those pages more relevant for the search results. It's a matter of having the pages on the site, having the proper on-page optimization, having the unique content, leveraging a tool like Nearby Now to help create geo-modified local content, and then building authority and links back to those pages. And I'll be talking about that as we go. So Heather, I hope that answers your question there about how to rank in the sub-cities. Chris Brown has a question. Does it matter if the city's listed before or after the keyword? Chris, that's kind of semantic. I've looked at it both ways. I've seen people do it both ways. So what he's asking folks is, in the title tag and the H1 tag, does it matter if it says Falls Church Plumber or Plumber Falls Church or Plumbing Company in Falls Church, and whether you put that city first or the city second? And from everything we can tell and all of the split testing that we've done, it doesn't really matter whether you do it first or second. We found there's actually, in our opinion, more search for the city first than the service, but it can go either way. Heather says, thanks. Kevin can't hear. All right, so the rest of the questions in here appears to be questions about the sound not working at the beginning. But I think based on those questions and the fact that people can hear, we're good to go. So if you have questions, please, I'd love to interact with you. I'd love to answer these questions as we go. And so again, that was the next step is your website properly optimized? And if it's not, this is important, right? You're not going to rank despite any of the other things that you do if you don't have the right pages and you don't have the proper optimization. So on this, I would put a star next to it and say, wow, we really need to go back and optimize our website and optimize our content so that we can put our best foot forward for ranking. So Lynn just popped in with another question here. Lynn Arnold is asking, can your local yellow pages help with getting keywords and page locations? So the answer here is yes. So if you're talking about the yellow page listing that you have online, and I'm going to be talking about the importance of having your name, address, and phone number and really having that authority so that you can rank well in the search engines. And yeah, having a listing on the yellow pages with a link back to your website does help build your authority, and it does help improve your rankings in the search engines. To further that, with the very latest algorithmic update, Pigeon, as they call it, Google is actually giving preferential rankings, or better than it had been, rankings to like the yellow pages and Yelp.com and even the BBB. So in some cases, when we type in Your City Plus Plumber, Your City Plus Plumbing, along with all of the other plumbing company websites, you'll see a Yelp listing or you'll see an Angie's List listing. And so yeah, being in those places, having authority for those particular listings can give you the opportunity to rank multiple times on page one. So your Yelp listing shows up, then your website address shows up, then maybe a YouTube video shows up. So yeah, to answer your question, it helps build authority, and then it also can help giving you another placeholder if you're strategic with how you approach it for multiple listings. So good question. Thanks for asking that. So the next item on our checklist is your website optimized for conversion? And we've talked a lot about search engine optimization and how to optimize our website and make sure we're ranking in the non-paid listings on the search engines. But you can be ranked number one. We've actually seen cases where this happens. Website ranks number one. People are getting there because it's showing up in the search engines. But when they get to the site, it doesn't convert. And so in other words, somebody gets the page, they kind of look at it, and they say, no, I'm not impressed, and they hit the back button and they go to somebody else. And that's because the website isn't resonating and it's not generating phone calls. And obviously, you want to make sure that you've optimized your website for conversion from visitor to caller. And so let's talk about some of the best practices to optimize for conversion. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is you want to make sure you have your phone number prominently on display somewhere in the header area of your graphic. So that's the very top section of the site on every page, whether it's the drain cleaning page or the furnace repair page. You should have your phone number up in the header. People don't want to have to click around and press the Contact Us button. We find having the phone number, ideally somewhere in the header, is going to improve your conversion rate. Having a request for quote box, either on the Contact Us page or, but even better, maybe even on every page of the website on the sidebar, where they can quickly just type in their name, their phone number, and the description of what's going on. That improves conversion because not everybody's in a state where they can pick up the phone and make a call. They might be at work. They might be in a place where they can't make a call, but they're looking because they need to find a service provider. And so having that, making it easy for people to reach out to you, is a good best practice. The other thing that you're going to want to do from a conversion perspective that I see gets missed a lot of times is having authenticity and personality on your website. By that I mean having real pictures, real videos of the owner, of the team, of the trucks, not stock photography, but real authentic imagery. And I found this to be extremely powerful. We can put two clients side by side, one that has a beautiful, stunning website that is all stock photography. And it looks like it could be any brochure you could pick up anywhere. And then we compare that to a website that has real authenticity. So again, you're seeing a picture of the owner. Maybe you're hearing directly from the owner talking about why he started the business and what makes him unique. That one that has the authenticity will often convert almost twice as effectively. So I'm going to encourage you to invest the time and the energy to take some pictures, to get some videos made, and really get your authentic, real company represented on your website. And that will actually have a pretty strong impact on the conversion. Leveraging your authority symbols. So if you're highly rated on Angie's List, if you're a member of the BBB, if you have those types of affiliations, like if you're a member of QSC, have that logo on the website because they're trust factors and it makes people feel comfortable that you're a good quality company that cares about your reputation and is going to do them right, is going to serve them well. But at the end of the day, the most important conversion factor that we've found is social proof. It's easy for you to say how great you are. It's easy for you to join the BBB, but it's not easy to have other people say great things about you. You have to actually do good work, and you have to actually follow through on what you say you're going to do to get online reviews. So you want to make sure that you've got a strategy for getting online reviews, and we'll be talking about that as we go, but you also want to be showcasing those reviews on your website. And you can see here an image showing that the Plumbing Doctor has 145 reviews, and there's actually a section on their website that pulls in their reviews and showcases their reviews from all across the web. So all the reviews that they have on Yelp and Angie's List and Google Maps and City Search and the Yellow Pages and Best Picks reports, all of that pulls right into that review section on the website. And the browsers can then go in and see where the review came from. They can click it and follow it to the original source. And I can tell you, having that ability to showcase all of the great things people say about your company will certainly improve the conversion from visitor to caller. And then the other thing is you want to make sure that your website's mobile friendly. The fact is, more and more consumers are accessing the internet from their smartphones, their iPhones, their Android phones, even their iPads and their tablets. And so 4.8 billion people now own phones. 3 out of 5 consumers are searching for local businesses from their smartphone. And Google reports that more than 40% of mobile consumers turn to a competitor's site after a bad mobile experience. And so really, if you play this out, what we're talking about is your customer finds you online from their smartphone. If they're having to pinch the screen in order to zoom in, or they're having to do weird fangled things to read your content or to call you, you're missing out on a major opportunity. You're probably bleeding traffic away from your site. And so you want to make sure that your website is mobile friendly. And this is critical. If you don't have a mobile optimized site, it's very cost effective to do it. I recommend nowadays that you have a responsive site where your site just condenses to the size of the screen. But in the worst case scenario, at least make sure that you have a mobile ready version of your site. It's relatively quick and easy to get done. And so on this, what we're trying to do is make sure that your website is optimized for conversion. And it's just the simple things. Do you have the phone number in the right-hand corner? Are you using real authentic pictures and videos of your team, of your trucks? Do you have a call to action on every block of text? So if they're reading down your website and they get to the homepage and they get to the end, are you specifically telling them, call us now at this number, or click here to schedule an appointment? Little things like that have a huge impact on conversion from clicks to calls. And then, of course, is your website mobile friendly? Again, if that one's not there, I would circle it and make sure that that's one of the first things you address, because you're having traffic to your website. I'm sure you are at some level. And if you don't have a mobile friendly version, you could be missing 50% of the leads that could come from your site, because our stats are telling us something like 30 to 50% of traffic to our clients' plumbing and HVAC sites is coming on mobile devices. So it's that important. So the next question on your list there is, are you actively building links and authority? So we talked about setting up your website, having pages for each one of your services, pages for each one of the cities that you operate in, making sure that you've optimized the title tags and the H1 tags and all of that. Well, all of that stuff doesn't mean that your website's going to rank on page 1. All that means is that you can get in the index for those keywords, like the keywords that you're targeting. Potentially could mean you're in the index but on page 5 or page 6. Obviously that doesn't do the trick. The thing that bridges the gap between being on page 1 and being on page 6 is really all about having more links, more online reviews, more citations, and more authority so that Google sees those pages as authoritative. And that's what's really going to determine whether you're on page 1 or page 5. Now, I will say that with a caveat. There's been a major change in the Google algorithm, and it used to just be literally about the links. You could get links from India and links from China and links from anywhere, and Google saw it and said, okay, that's a more authoritative page. It gets higher ranked than the ones that have less. Well, when Google came out with Penguin and Panda, one addressed spammy content, which we talked about. The other addressed spammy linking practices. And so it's essential that when you're building links and you're building authority, that you're only getting links from relevant websites. And so that's things like websites that are in your local area, websites that have to do with home services or plumbing or heating or air conditioning. And so you have to be pretty strategic with these links. And some of you on this training may have seen a major decline in your rankings where you were on page 1 and then today you can't even find yourself on page 5. And probably what happened is, as unfortunate as it is, you probably have a link penalty. And you did some aggressive link building with a different provider and Google caught it and now your website's been dinged. Now there's got to be a proactive strategy for finding out what your link profile is and identifying those nasty links that Google doesn't like and removing them or disavowing them so that you can get back in Google's good graces. But so assuming that you don't have that type of problem, assuming that you're just trying to build your authority, you're trying to rank better in the search engines, you want to make sure you have a strategy to get quality, relevant inbound links back to your website. And so there's a lot of different things you can do. One of the simple, low-hanging opportunities that you can look at is building links from websites like PHCC and QSC if you're members. Being in all of the major online directories like Angie's List and CitySearch and Best of the Web and HotFrog, those build links. Being active in social media, believe it or not. When you set up a Facebook profile, when you set up an Angie's List listing, when you set up a Pinterest account, they all let you put in a company name, address, phone number, and website address. Those drive links back to your website. And one of the things we found to be real effective from a link building strategy and really making sure that you're compliant with the latest Google algorithmic updates, these links that I have pointed to this site are all natural links. Google expects that you're going to be on the social profiles, that you're going to be on the directories, that you're going to have a YouTube channel. And those are all nice and clean. Now, one of the things you can do is build a lot of links back to these different sources. So if you have a Yelp listing, build links, not to your homepage, but to your Yelp listing. Build links to your YouTube channel. Build links to your Facebook account. And what happens is you build authority for those links that are pointed to your site, and then your website also gets more authority without having any fuzziness in terms of, wait, these are not the best links. You can have a lot of links pointed to your Yelp listing that pass to your actual website and be totally above the line and not have to worry about any linking penalties. So I know I went to a little bit of a ninja strategy there, but I want to try and pull back the kimono and really share with you guys what we're doing and what we're seeing get results in this post-Penguin algorithmic period. The other thing you have to do is your content has to be good. You have to be putting out good, relevant content on a consistent basis. And with the Hummingbird update, and I don't want to get too technical with jargon, but so Google came out with a complete update of their algorithm called Hummingbird. And what that was all around was the fact is, we talked about people accessing the internet from their mobile phones more than ever. Well, as they're using Siri, as they're using the voice to text technology on Android phones, they're not typing in things the way that they normally would. They're actually asking questions. They're going and say, what's the best plumbing company in Denver? Or top plumbing companies near me? And so Hummingbird was all about changing the algorithm so that Google could serve relevant results based on the way people are asking questions into their phones. And so as you think about your content strategy and as you're updating the content and updating your blog, be sure that you're doing it in a question answer type of format, answering the most common questions, filling in the gaps. That's the kind of content that Google wants to see. And so you need to have your blog, you need to be updating it at least on a monthly basis. I would encourage that you update your blog on a weekly basis and just make it informational. Why you might want to choose trenchless versus trenched drain cleaning. Why you might want to consider tankless versus a tanked water heater. The benefits of a high efficiency HVAC system. The benefits of IAQ. And answer the questions that go along with that. That's going to help you get really well ranked in the search engines because your content's authoritative. That draws inbound links. You're doing the right kind of link building. And so the question here is, are you consistently creating new content, blogging, and proactively building inbound links, authoritative, good quality links to your website, to the sub pages on your website, to the sub services on your website, and to your citation sources? Because if you really get aggressive with this, you can build links back not just to your homepage, but to your service pages. You can build links also to your citation sources. And that's how you start to take up multiple pages on or multiple listings on page one because your Yelp listing is now ranking and your homepage is now ranking and maybe your YouTube video is now ranking. And so you want to make sure in this particular area is, do you have somebody on your team responsible for this? Is there somebody doing it? Or do you have a company that's helping you get this done in a way that's compliant with the latest changes in the Google algorithm? So I'm going to pause real quick. I'm going to address some of the questions because we do have some questions stacking up. If I don't get to your question, I apologize. I'm already about 50 minutes into today's presentation, and I need to try and push through this. But Chris Brown's question is, does it hurt to have links on your website for partners that link out to websites that aren't yours? For example, companies we refer clients to, for example, a restoration company. Chris, that's a great question. There's been some debate about this. There's a potential for that type of strategy looking like a link exchange. So you put a link on your website to link to their website just so they can link to your website, and Google doesn't like that. With that said, I think if you're truly linking to, if you're an HVAC company and you're linking to your plumbing referral partner, or you're linking to your damage restoration referral partner, I think that's clean because it's a local website to you. It's a service that's relevant because it's home service based. And I think that's a good quality link that can be exchanged because their website has a certain authority, your website has a certain authority. I'm cool with that. I actually think that's a good strategy. However, don't link that same way to, if you're in Georgia, to a company in New York. That doesn't make any sense, and that is the kind of thing that will get you in trouble. But great question. So Rick's question is, links on your website from other sites back to yours. Yes, that's what we're looking for. We're not talking about our website linking to the PHCC and to Chamber of Commerce. We're talking about those sites linking to us. That's how we build the authority. And then Heather asks, does Siri always pull info from Yelp rather than Google? And can you make Yelp go away? Good question. Siri's actually bolted right into Yelp for a lot of their stuff and Bing. So that's actually been changing a lot as of late. I don't want to give a definitive answer to that because it's a constantly moving target. Can you make Yelp go away? I don't know, maybe you're talking about you've got a lot of reviews and maybe they've been caught in the spam filter and it's really frustrating you, or you've just got your bad reviews showing up on Yelp. I don't know of any way to make it go away. If it's showing up and it's causing you issues when someone types in your company name, probably what you want to do is what we would call a reputation management strategy, which would be let's find other listings that actually paint you in a better light. So if the BBB paints you in a better light, if Yellow Pages paints you in a better light, or in other words, you got better reviews on those, start to build some links back to those listings with your company name. So now when we run a search for your company, instead of Google showing Yelp and then your company website and then your Google map listing and then all of those other things, you can build the authority for those and move Yelp down the list. So can we make it go away? Not completely. Can we move it down the list? Absolutely. So I hope, Heather, that answered that question. And let's continue to plow forward because we still have a lot to cover. I really hope you guys are getting value from this. I'm trying to give you really what I think you need to do in order to set your plan to really take your company to a whole nother level via the internet marketing. So the next thing on our list is, are you optimized for the Google Map listings? And Google Maps is probably the number one place people are looking when they need plumbing and HVAC services. So they're going to Google, they're typing in Falls Church Plumber, the map listings come up with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and the reviews. A lot of eyeballs go right there. I mean, they're still looking at the organic listings as well, but this is huge. And one of the most common questions I get is, what do I need to do to rank in the map in my market? And it's really not that hard. I mean, there's some very specific things you can do and really improve the probability of ranking in the Google Map listings. So the first thing is to claim and optimize your Google My Business listing. Now, Google's changed this a number of times in the last 2 years. It was Google Places, and then it was Google Plus Local, and it moved. But right now, it is Google My Business, and that's as of the last, I would say, 6 months. And so you want to go to google.com/mybusiness, and there you have the ability to claim your listing, and you have control of things like your company name and your phone number and your website address. And I'll give you some best practices for optimizing your Google My Business listing, because there are some gotchas that, if you're not playing by Google's rules, can kind of kick you out of the map altogether. And so you need to know what the guidelines are so that you can go and correct it and get back in Google's good graces. Now, with that said, just having a Google My Business listing does not mean that you're going to rank in the Google Maps. It just doesn't. There's hundreds of plumbing companies and HVAC companies in just about every market, and Google's got to determine who should be spot A versus spot Z. And so, of course, just having a My Business listing is not enough. So there are really three core criteria that to determine who's going to rank spot A versus spot Z. The first, of course, is having a claimed, properly optimized Google My Business listing. The second is having more citations than your competition. And citations are just references of your company's name, address, and phone number, and being consistently referenced across the web. And so a citation might be something like Angie's List, Best of the Web, Hot Frog, Yelp.com, City Search, eLocal Plumber. There's probably about 250 really relevant online directories that apply to plumbing or HVAC companies. And so the key here is to make sure that you're in all of those. But more importantly, and I talk about getting your internet marketing right, a lot of you have done this. A lot of you have been through the ringer on this. You've gone through 5 different companies. They all went in and did their own thing. Some of them used tracking numbers. Some of them used different dummy web pages. Some of them set you up with bogus addresses so that you can rank in different cities. What you need to do right now, going into 2015, is you have to figure out what is your true name, address, and phone number. The main number that you have in your oldest listing. What's your address and what's your legal company name? And then you have to get disciplined and log in to each one of those 250 sites and update them. and take all of the duplicates and all of the misinformation and consolidate it. And I can tell you, when you get that right and you're in all of those places and you have that consistency, Google sees you as authoritative. And that really improves your probability of ranking in the Google Map listings. The other thing is having online reviews. And I can't underscore that this is probably the biggest authority factor in how you're going to rank in the Google Map listings. Having online reviews, not just on Google, but across the web, across the network of review sites. Because Google's looking at Yelp, and they're looking at Angie's List, and they're looking at all of these different places to see, okay, how many reviews does this company have? If they've got a lot of reviews, then they probably are doing a lot of service. And if they're doing a lot of service, they're probably relatively authoritative. And so you want to make sure you have a strategy in place to consistently get new reviews from your real customers in your true service area and get them across the web, not just on one platform, not on a platform hidden behind a veil, but on the public online review sites. And if you get those three things right, and you followed my instructions on how you optimize your website, making sure that you've got your name, address, and phone number in the footer section on the pages of your website, and you've got it on the Contact Us page, and you're not playing too many games with your name, address, and phone number in terms of tracking, you really improve your probability of ranking well in the Google Map listings. And so just a real quick overview, because I've got an hour-long presentation just on optimizing for the Google Maps, but you would go to google.com/business. That's where you claim your Google Maps listing or where you manage your existing listing. And the reason I have this screen up or this slide up is because regardless of who handles your internet marketing, whether you do it in-house or you've got an outside provider, you want to make sure you know what your Google My Business username and password is so that you can go in and look at it, you can make updates to it, you can respond to online reviews. You want to know what that is because this is really the lifeblood of your online marketing presence in today's market. So I want to encourage you to go back and track that down if you don't know what it is, and then log in and you're going to see a screen that really lets you see what Google has for you. What's your company's name? What's your address? What's your phone number? What are your hours of operation? What categories are selected? And the keys here, the gotchas that can get you dumped all together is in your company name, are you stuffing additional keywords? So instead of the plumbing doctor, do you have the plumbing doctor dash Falls Church Plumbing Company or some other facsimile thereof? There was a time where that was really a good strategy 3 years ago, back in the wild, wild west of Google Maps. And you could go in and just put as many keywords as you wanted, and it really helped rank in the maps. In today's environment, if you have additional stuff in your company name, Google will literally drop you out of the search results. So making sure that that's right is strong. Using a real physical business address. As we looked at the Pigeon update, which is the latest update that applies to the Google Map listings and local listings, our clients all moved up, and they moved up almost across the board. Now, the reason for that is they're legitimate plumbing or HVAC companies. They have a real address in the location where they operate in, and they don't have a P.O. box. They don't have a home address. And so making sure that you have a real physical business address in Google Maps right now is critical. A lot of the P.O. box listings, a lot of the mailbox, etc., a lot of the virtual addresses, and unfortunately even a lot of the home addresses got a major ding. So if you're serious about ranking in the Google Map listings, you're going to want to invest in a legitimate space in the area or the city that you're trying to rank in. The other thing on here that's real important is using a local number and using your authentic phone number. So by that I mean, yes, I'm all for call tracking. I love it. I like to use it in certain cases. But when it comes to your online listings, like Angie's List and City Search and Best of the Web and Google Maps, you want to use your real company number. Google looks at that name, address, and phone number almost like your thumbprint across the web. And if you started to play games and put one number on Yelp and a different number on Angie's List and a different number in Google Maps, well, your thumbprint has no consistency. And so Google can't isolate that that's your company and give you the authority that you should have. I've seen some huge companies. We're talking about $60 million, $70 million a year plumbing and HVAC companies that are clearly the category killer in their market that don't rank on the Google map. And it's like, wow, why would that be? Well, the reason is they tried to use too many tracking numbers and they don't have the consistency, and it's actually dumped them out of the map listings. So you need to make sure that you have that consistency of your name, address, and phone number. I spent a little bit of extra time on that because I think it's real important that you understand having the right name, address, and phone number is very, very, very critical in terms of how you're going to wind up ranking in the Google map listings. So the other thing that I talked about is having a system in place to get online reviews from your real customers in your true service area. And listen, there's a lot of tools that do this. You can get as basic as having a templatized email that says, hey, thanks for your business, and we'd love it if you'd write us a review, and giving a direct link to Google, this link, Angie's List, this link, Yelp, this link, and have someone in your team send that email out after every service. And that works pretty well, and I'm all for it. You need to have something that is systematic where there's a thank you and a request for email going out after every service call. There's also great tools like Review Buzz. I love that tool. I think it's great. It helps to automate the way that you request and get online reviews. The tool we like to recommend, the tool that we implement for our clients, is called Nearby Now. And the way it works is it runs on your mobile phones for your technicians. We find that since you're out in the field, there's no better person to put in charge of asking for that review and requesting it than your technician who's already in the field. And I talked about having to have unique content for each of the cities that you're trying to rank for. Somebody asked earlier in the webinar, what's the secret for getting ranked in multiple cities? Well, having a page for the city, having unique content on that page, and then making it relevant. And so with Nearby Now, the way it works is you would install it on your technicians' phones, and as they get to the place of service, they take out their phone and they check in. And the GPS coordinates from the phone says, okay, this is where the service is taking place. And they type a brief description and they snap a photo of what they're doing. Maybe they're fixing a water heater or they're installing a new HVAC system, whatever it is. Now that information automatically posts to the city page on the site. And when you're doing that, after every service call, you can see you start to generate a lot of really good, relevant content that's hitting those pages. And so that's why we like Nearby Now. We found it to be tremendous for helping to rank in some of those sub-markets. Now, the other thing that it does is it automates the way that I shouldn't say automate, it systematizes the way that you're requesting reviews after every service call. And the way it works is after the service is done, the technician will go back to their phone, type in the customer's name, email address, or cell phone number, and an email or a text message goes out. And the email will already be queued up, and it will already be ready to roll, and it will say, hey, thanks so much for choosing XYZ company. We really appreciate the opportunity to serve you, and we'd love it if you'd write us a review. And it's got those links that they can just click. Boom, now they're on Yelp, and they can write a review. Boom, now they're on Angie's List. And the reason you want to offer multiple options, Angie's List and City Search and Google.com, first, I told you want to diversify where your reviews are across the web. You don't want to filter everyone just to Google or just to Angie's List. You want to diversify. But the other reason is different people use different platforms. Not everyone is a Google user. And so if you try to say, hey, write me a Google review, and they follow that link, they're not going to complete the process because it requires them to create an account. And then they got to write a review. And then Google will probably kick that review out anyways because they're not a legitimate Google user and they have no past history. Now, if you give options, the person that uses Yelp and is a Yelper and writes a review every time they go to a restaurant, well, they've got a Yelp account. And they're going to go, oh, yeah, I'll just click this Yelp link and I'll write that review. And it will stick and it will be relevant. And so that's why we want to make sure they have options in the various places that they write those reviews. And so the way this Nearby Now works is technician checks in, they type their description, they request a review via the app, a heat map on your website is updated, unique content is posted to the city pages, and a request for review is going out after every service call. And then you've got the ability to build those online reviews. And those online reviews in conjunction with a properly optimized Google Map listing, in conjunction with consistency of your name, address, and phone number, is really how you optimize to rank well in the Google Map listings. And so on your checklist here is, do you have these things in place? Have you claimed the map listing? Do you know what your username and password is? Are you optimized correctly following those best practices? Do you have consistency of your name, address, and phone number across the web? How many reviews do you have online? And do you have a proactive strategy where you're requesting and getting reviews on a consistent basis? Excuse me. And so I have a question here from Heather. And Heather says, it may be a silly question, but most companies who send the emails, who sends the emails? The CSR or dispatch? And this is a good question. It's a great question. And it really depends. We've got clients that will have the CSRs or the dispatchers do it. So in other words, they're going into the system and they're typing in a name and email address, and it's pushing out the system that way. If you use Nearby Now the way that we like to see it used, the technician, after they're doing the service, they're doing it right from their smartphone, and it removes any burden on the back office. Depending upon how your business is set up, depending upon how adaptable your technicians are, you can do it either way. But the key here is to have a systematic process where you're requesting and getting those online reviews. So that was a great question. And I can really say, based on past experience, if you do these things and you get that consistency, you can start to see yourself ranking in the Google Map, and it will have a tremendous impact being ranked on the Google Map with good online reviews and the number of calls and the amount of leads that you get within your company. So the next question as we go down our list is, are you active on social media? And so active on social media, we're talking about Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus and LinkedIn and Pinterest and all of these different social profiles. And as I talk with plumbing and HVAC companies, most of you guys know that social media is very important. And you're like, okay, I know there's a lot of momentum there. I know I need to be involved. I don't really know how it's going to impact my business. I don't see how it's going to generate any additional leads or calls. And the way I like to help bridge the gap in how you can really leverage social media is by asking really right now, what is your number one source of calls and really service revenue within your business? And I'm sure if you thought about that question, the answer that immediately came to your head was repeat and referral business is our lifeblood, right? Our customers using us again and referring us to their friends, and repeat and referral business is really where it's at. Well, that being the case, social media gives you the ability to take that repeat and referral business, that lifeblood of your company, and take it to a whole nother level. The reason I say that is now there's over 1.6 billion people on Facebook. The average user has 135 friends and is checking in between 6 and 9 times per day. So just in that one channel of social media, which is Facebook, if you can get your real customers, not random people in China and India, but I'm talking about your real customers in your true service area, to press the like button, by virtue of that like, they've exposed your brand and your company to their 135 friends. Because their friends are going to log in, they're going to see that Tani just clicked like on your company's Facebook page, and that shows up in their feed. It's almost as if they wrote a handwritten note to all their friends and said, hey, I found this really nice plumbing or HVAC company in our market. Next time you need that type of service, I'd encourage you to contact those guys. And that's a great way to really expand your brand and get more awareness within your circle of influence. But the other thing is it gives you permission to remain top of mind with your best customers. So they're checking in between 6 and 9 times per day. So by virtue of them pressing that like button, every time they log in, assuming you're putting out some type of relevant update, they're going to see your company. They're going to see that job you just completed. They're going to see that funny picture of that water heater that you did something interesting with. And it helps to remain top of mind, which of course is going to improve your repeat and referral business. And so you want to be active on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn. You need to have somebody on your team that's responsible for posting updates to those profiles on a very consistent basis. And so the question here is, do you have the profiles? And I think most of you do. But the bigger question is, how many likes do you have? Are you proactively putting out input updates on a consistent basis? And do you have a strategy to get your customers to engage with you on social media? And that right there is critical. So the next question is, are you leveraging email marketing? And when I say email marketing, I'm not really talking about sending emails via Gmail or emails via Outlook. I'm talking about, do you have a database with all your customers and all their email addresses, and are you sending out some type of newsletter or some type of update on a consistent basis? Consistent being at least once a month. And I think that the most powerful way to share the power of email marketing is by sharing an example. Now, Daniel Cordova, based in California, in my mind is one of the fastest growing plumbing companies in the United States. They grew over a 2-year period from a startup with no clients to well over $1 million per year, and they're growing even faster than that. And when I did an interview with Daniel about what the secret sauce was and how he had this rapid growth, of course, his number one thing was internet, getting ranked into search engines, being aggressive on Yelp and some of the other profiles. But he said really the secret to the growth was having a process in place to follow up with his customers via email and build that relationship. And so what he does is he puts out an email newsletter, and he gets an email address from every customer he talks to and sends out a little email, personality-based email on a monthly basis. And that helps him anchor in that customer and get more repeat and referral business. And so there's a number of tools that you can use for this. You can use Constant Contact or MailChimp or iContact or Aweber. There's a lot of these out there. But what I want to encourage you to do is to set up a system. Get the names and the email addresses of your customers in there, and then you use it to do a couple things. First, send an email after every service call requesting a review. Send an email letting them know that you're active on social media so that you can get them to press that like button and engage further. And then send out at least one email per month with some type of newsletter that helps remain top of mind with them so that they'll remember you. That's the big thing. Are they going to remember you a year from now, 2 years from now, when they need another plumbing service? Or are they going to go to Google and run a new search? If you follow up and you're proactive in this way, you're really going to get a lot more repeat and referral business, and you'll be able to anchor in those customers. And so on your list here, you might have almost everything else down, but you might say, hey, you know what? We're missing this opportunity. We don't send the emails. We're not collecting emails. We don't have a database. And so I want to encourage you to add that to your plan for this year. Start to collect the emails and make sure that you're sending out those emails on a consistent basis. So I'm going to pause for a quick question, and the question comes from Megan, and it's saying, can I post to the same content to every social media platform, or will Google penalize that? They're certainly not going to penalize it. You can be as aggressive with social media as you want. You can post new posts on different platforms, and depending upon the type of company that you're in, like if you're a restaurant, then you might want to post something different on Instagram than you post on Pinterest than you post on Facebook. In home services, we're talking about your plumbing or HVAC, your electrical business. I don't think you have to overthink it that much. I really think you can take that same piece of content, share it on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and LinkedIn, and use a tool like Hootsuite or something like that. Schedule your week worth of posts out in advance and just get a relevant, interesting, non-obtrusive post to the social profiles. So to answer your question, they're not going to penalize it, and I think it's totally okay to use the same content for your plumbing, HVAC type business on multiple profiles. So Megan, good question. I hope that answered that particular question. And so as you start to look beyond that, right, everything we've talked to this point in the presentation has been about setting up your foundation, right? Getting your website right, making sure it's optimized for conversion, making sure that you're optimized to show up in the organic and non-paid listings. And most of that, including social media and email marketing, all of that is really what you might call free advertising. There's no paid element to any of this stuff. It's just a matter of getting your strategy strong and getting a good, strong foundation. Now, if you look, again, at all of those different online marketing avenues that are available, from getting your website right to social media to paid directories like Angie's List and Yelp.com, all the way up to pay-per-click advertising, all we've talked about is the foundational items, the things at the bottom of the pyramid. And as I talk to a lot of plumbing and HVAC business owners, a lot of them have this pyramid that I've got on the screen inverted. And they've got a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money invested in pay-per-click advertising and paid online directories, but they haven't got the foundation strong. So the stuff at the bottom, they don't have a great website. They are not ranking in the organic listings. They're not ranking on the Google map. They're not leveraging social and email marketing. And I always feel like that's a recipe for failure, because if your foundation isn't strong, your pay-per-click advertising is not going to be as effective as it should be. So make sure only once your website's optimized correctly and your content is good and all your conversion elements are in place, that's when you start to say, okay, where can we invest additional dollars? Where can we be getting more leads and calls and profitability via the web? And that's when you implement paid advertising, pay-per-click advertising, all of those other channels. Does that make sense? I sure hope so. So at that point, this is when you start to say, okay, what paid advertising can we look at? Where does it make sense to spend some money and make sure we're getting a return on investment? And some of the things we found from a paid marketing perspective to be so effective are pay-per-click advertising, especially on Google AdWords, a little bit on Microsoft Search, paid ad on Angie's List, really getting engaged in the Angie's List community, paid ad on YP.com, and a paid ad on Yelp.com. All of those channels tend to work pretty well. One of the biggest areas I see for improvement in online marketing for plumbing and HVAC companies is within pay-per-click advertising. See, a lot of you have invested dollars in pay-per-click advertising, either on your own or through Angie's or through Yodel or Reach Local or one of these other companies, and you spent $5,000-$6,000 a month, or even $1,000 or $2,000 a month, and you didn't get the return on investment, especially not the investment that you were expecting. And I really feel like the main cause for that is a lack of understanding from the person that set up your pay-per-click campaign of how the AdWords auction process actually works. And the fact is, there is a quality score component to pay-per-click advertising. And a lot of people just think it's about the bid. So if you pick a keyword like San Diego plumber and San Diego plumbing, if you're willing to spend $30 per click, you're going to be the number one person. But there's more to it than that. Google has to serve the most relevant results. In order to do that, they have to have something that filters a good advertiser that's really relevant versus somebody that's bad but is willing to pay more. And so there's really three core elements that go into a quality score. And that's your click-through rate, your relevancy, and the quality of your landing page. And I know we're getting deep into this presentation. I don't want to spend too much time getting too granular, but if you are strategic with how you set up your AdWords or your pay-per-click advertising, you can be a little bit more aggressive with how you break out your ad groups, which improves your relevancy, which improves your click-through rate. You can make sure that your landing page is very in line with what the person typed in before they got to your page, and that all serves to give you a better quality score. And as you have a higher quality score, you can actually pay less per click while still maintaining top positioning in the pay-per-click listings. Now, that's an oversimplified way of explaining it, but the reason most pay-per-click campaigns fail is because if you're a big company that does pay-per-click advertising for thousands or tens of thousands of advertisers and only have done one or two plumbing companies or one or two HVAC companies, you think a plumbing service is a plumbing service. And heck, if they type in plumber, plumbing, emergency plumber, drain cleaning, water heater repair, what difference does it make? So with that in mind, what you might do is set up one big campaign for all of those things and drive it to the homepage. So even if the person typed in emergency plumbing, they still get your homepage. Or if they typed in drain cleaning, they get your homepage instead of the drain cleaning page. So you're not really resonating with what they were looking for. You're not relevant, and your conversion rates are going to be bad. So this is really the recipe for failure from a pay-per-click advertising campaign. And so what you want to do in order to put your best foot forward and maximize your pay-per-click advertising spend and return on investment is set up ad groups for each one of your core services. So group together the emergency-related services, group together the drain services, group together the water heater services, have a different text ad based on those keywords, have a different landing page that they get to when they typed in those keywords, and what you're going to find is you have a tremendous quality score, you're highly relevant, your cost per click is low, and your conversion rate is significantly higher because the person typed in water heater repair and they got a page that said, hey, if you're looking for somebody that can come out and repair your water heater today, we're your guys. And it really answered their question and it gave them a compelling call to action. You're going to get more of those clicks turn into calls, and that's how you really succeed with your pay-per-click advertising. And so the question here is, are you taking advantage of paid online marketing? And I think you want to make sure you have the foundation strong before you go down this path. But do you have an AdWords campaign? Are you strategically targeting it with ad groups for each of your services and specific text ads and landing pages? Have you invested in a premium ad on Angie's List, on Yelp, on CitySearch, on YP.com? And are you taking advantage of pay-per-lead services? That's the very last thing. I think that's the lowest quality lead you can get. But if you're strategic with it, you can buy leads. If you're really proactive and you follow up with them quickly and you have a follow-up sequence in place, you can get a return on investment from that. But I'd say that's at the very, very end of your evaluation process. And so I talked at the beginning about the plumbing doctor and the fact that they were able to triple their sales by getting their basic internet marketing right, starting to rank well, having a website that resonated at a different level. And what we did was we, after that, started to implement pay-per-click advertising. We got aggressive with Angie's List and Yelp.com. And you'll see that the traffic to the website went from 72 visitors to over 1,000 visitors per month. And what that resulted in was an increase from 72 calls all the way up to 213 calls. And so by implementing the right internet marketing strategy and really rolling together everything that you have on your worksheet and getting all of those things right, what happened was they were able to go from 24 calls in October of 2011 all the way to over 213 calls in January in Falls Church, which is not a major market. It's a relatively small market. And so that right there is a 10-time increase in leads, calls, revenues, and profitability by getting their internet marketing right. And so the last thing on your list and the last thing you want to make sure that you have in place is, do you have the right tools in place to track, measure, and quantify your return on investment? And so there's a lot of things you can do, but the main items I really encourage that you put in place this year to make sure you know whether you're doing well or not are these 4 tools. The first is Google Analytics, and this is a free tracking script you put on your website, and it will help you see how many people got to your website, what they typed in to get there, how long they stayed. And I imagine most of you have Google Analytics, but I'm going to encourage you to make sure you're looking at it at least once a month. Is the traffic increasing? Are they staying? How's that working out? The second thing is tracking for your most important keywords. So we talked about having a list of the keywords people are typing in when they need your service. And there are tools that you can use to systematically track and say, okay, you're in spot 7 for Falls Church Plumber, you're in spot 3 for Falls Church Emergency Plumber, and you want to have some type of report to track your online rankings. I'm also going to encourage you to put call tracking in place on your website. So there's some tools that'll do this. You want to make sure you either use a JavaScript or a graphic. That way you can track only on your website how many people actually picked up the phone and called in and hear the recordings of those conversations and truly be able to quantify that true return on investment. So the question here is, do you have the proper tracking in place? And if not, definitely get that right, because you don't want to wind up spending a lot of money without knowing and without tracking your return on investment. So we've worked through the whole worksheet, and I just want to check in and say, how are you doing? Do you have things circled? Do you have things highlighted? Hopefully you're able to look at this and say, okay, these are the 5 areas that I need to take action right away in order to really improve what I'm doing online going into this new year. And this stuff really does work. I'm just going to share a couple case studies of how this plays out in the real world when you really implement these strategies. And one of the companies we work with and we've implemented this strategy for is Schuler Services. And they're based out of Allentown, Pennsylvania. And Greg Joyce is the owner. He bought the company from his dad about 2 years ago. And he started with us about 2 years ago. And they had built their business over the years, similar to the Plumbing Doctor, in the Yellow Pages. And when Greg bought the company, he knew internet was going to be critical. And they had to get an internet marketing strategy in place, and they had to get it off the ground. Now, when they started, they had virtually no presence. They had a basic 3-page website. They did not rank when you typed in anything around plumber, plumbing, emergency plumber, drain cleaning in that Allentown market. Well, we implemented all of this stuff that we've gone through, right? Setting up the website, making sure it's got the right conversion elements, putting the process in place to get online reviews, updating the content, updating the links. And within a couple of months, he moved from not ranking to a strong spot A for Allentown Plumber, Allentown Plumbing, Allentown Emergency Plumber, a lot of the keywords. And what happened here was he moved from 417 visitors when we started to over 913 visitors, which was an increase from 42 calls to 121 calls. Now, this number has increased significantly even since this snapshot was taken, but this has had a big impact on the net income and net profitability of their business. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but really what I want you to see down at the bottom is he says they're up 40% year over year. And this is a company that does historically $2 million per year. So up 40% means $800,000 in additional revenues just as a function of getting the internet marketing right. And I share this because I really want you guys to believe and understand it's worth the time, it's worth the energy. If you really get your internet marketing strategy right, there's a lot more revenue, a lot more leads, and a lot more money coming your way. Another case study is Hull Plumbing, and they're based out of Oklahoma City. And Hull, relatively new company, started the company back in 1998, had tried a lot of internet marketing stuff in the past. He actually says he worked with a couple different SEO companies, a couple different organizations, and it just didn't work out. I mean, they set up a website, but it did not rank in Oklahoma City, didn't rank in the surrounding areas. Well, we were able to put these strategies in place, and now if we type in Oklahoma City Plumber, there he is, spot A on the Google map. There he is, spot A for Oklahoma City Plumbing. And what's cool here is the traffic to the website went from literally nothing to over 1,191 visitors, which had a major impact on call volume. But more importantly, I'll just read this one all the way through. I've been with Plumber SEO for about 2 years now and can tell you it's had a noticeable impact on the growth of my business. Since getting started with them, my revenue's doubled from $450,000 to $1.1 million. And my staff's grown from 5 guys to 13 guys. Prior to connecting with them, I tried a number of other companies and approaches, spent a lot of what I call stupid money trying to get my internet marketing right with virtually nothing to show for it. When Josh showed me their plan and laid out exactly what they were going to do for me, I felt confident I'd found the right company to partner with. They did exactly what they said. The service has been professional and the results speak for themselves. I could not be happier that I could secure an exclusive relationship with the Plumber SEO team before one of my competitors did. Now, another company we work with in Orlando, Florida, Mark Norman, Shamrock Plumbing, was working from a home office when he started with us. He had just basically himself and one other guy. And by getting his internet marketing right in Orlando, he had 319 calls directly via the internet in April. He's actually expanded to 9 full-time employees. He works out of a 2,500 square foot facility in Orlando. And again, I'm showing these case studies because I want you to feel confident that if you follow these strategies, the opportunity is definitely there. So there's just some of the rankings for Shamrock 319 calls on the call tracking number. Let's skip that. So hopefully you've got your chart in front of you. You know exactly what needs to be done. I'm going to be on the call to answer any follow-up questions that you guys have. I'd love to talk through that with you. But really what I want to leave you with is, now that you see where the opportunity is, now that you see where there's room for improvement, the question is, do you have the resources? Do you have access to the people that can help you do this correctly, that can help you get all of these different moving parts right so that you can start to see the true opportunity of the internet? And if not, we'd love to help you. We'd love to work with you to help get this right. And if you'd like to talk with us, you can give us a call directly at 866-610-4647. And I do have an offer specifically for you guys where I really feel like the first step in working together is to understand where you're at today and really help you bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to go. And so what we'll do, we'll develop the keyword list for you. So we showed you those 100 keywords people are typing in when they need plumbing or HVAC related services. We'll look at your area, we'll look at your service offerings, and we'll develop that keyword list. From there, we'll run the report to determine where you rank now. Are you on page 1? Are you on page 3? Do you not rank anywhere? Starts there. Where are you at? Where's there's room for improvement? We'll look at your website, both the on-page optimization factors as well as the conversion elements. We'll look at the links, the citations, the reviews, help you identify really where you're missing the boat, and recommend the course of action. I can tell you, because I get this question all the time, how much does this cost? I mean, is it going to cost me 10 grand? Is it going to cost me 100 grand? How much does it cost? Our services are very affordable, and the return on investment is significant. Our programs range between $1,500 and $2,500 per month to have this completely done for you. No long-term contract, no long-term commitment, just a one-on-one relationship with our company helping you get these things right. And I can tell you that the return on investment is there. Now, for this assessment, the value of spending that time and the energy to run that report for you, we benchmark that time at about $350. As a special thank you for you joining on the webinar and hopefully getting a tremendous amount of value, we will do this whole process for you for just $50. We'll do that due diligence. We'll tell you where there's room for improvement. And we'll also send you a copy of our new book, How to Triple Your Sales by Getting the Internet Marketing Right, the actual physical copy, as well as the training video. Now, I'll tell you, again, we only work with one plumbing or HVAC company in each market. We're actively reaching out and prospecting in the major markets across the United States. So if you'd like the opportunity to work with us, just know we only work with one in each market. You would have exclusive rights to our services in your area. I'd encourage you, if you want to talk to us directly and you'd like to talk about the possibilities and what we could do for you, give us a call at Plumber SEO at 866-610-4647. Or if you'd like to take us up on that assessment, just go to plumberseo.net/apply-now. There you can sign up for that $50 assessment. We'll mail you a free copy of the book, and we'll do that whole due diligence process for you. Now, there's still a lot of people on the call. I hope that you guys have your plan. I'd love to answer any questions that you have. So post your questions in the box. Give me your feedback. Let me know what you think. And let's make 2015 you guys' best year ever. So Heather says, thank you. Look forward to seeing you at the power meeting in Arizona in February. I look forward to seeing you too. Thank you. Megan says, great stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Megan. If anybody else has any additional questions, feel free to ask. If you want to take us up on that opportunity to really help you get your plan right in 2015, go to plumberseo.net/apply-now. I don't know if you're still with us, Charlie. Maybe not. I think I went a little bit longer than I was supposed to, folks, but I see most of you stayed with us. So I really appreciate it. Kevin Dunn is asking, can this be watched again? Yeah, what we'll do, either I or Charlie will send out an email after with the recording of the training that you can definitely watch again if you would like to.
Yeah, I'm here, Josh.
Thanks for hanging in with me, Charlie. I appreciate it.
Did everybody enjoy this? I hope you did. I did. I don't necessarily understand all of it, but it is very interesting. It's a challenge for me because everything changes so quick, and I know you can count on Josh and his team to help keep you on top of everything. Josh, thank you. I appreciate you doing this, and right now I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. We appreciate you being on today, and I will be sending out the recording, providing everything went correctly with it. We've been known to have technical problems before, but hopefully this one worked. And I'll get that out to you probably tomorrow. And if you have questions, you can certainly contact Josh. You can contact me. Most of you received an email from me regarding the handout that Josh talked about, and you can contact me anytime. And thank you again.